Hello, and welcome to the SomerKnits podcast. My name is Summer, and I am here to share all about my knitting, spinning, occasionally crochet, and other crafty-related nonsense. I am filming today is Wednesday, August 23rd. I had to think about that. My kids are finally back in school, and this is the first day that I've had at home by myself in order to try to film. So I know it's been a hot minute. This could end up a very long episode, but I hope you'll stick with me through it. We're going to start with finished objects and work our way into whips. I'm trying to recall if there are any acquisitions since the last podcast, since I've been trying not to buy yarn, but I don't think I've podcasted since Fiber Christmas, so there might be a few things to show. I'll have to double check on that. Anyway, thank you for joining me here, and let's dive into it. Let's start with what I'm wearing. Maybe we should start with what I'm drinking. It may be over 100 degrees outside, or at least the heat index is. Yesterday it got up to a heat index of 115. But I am a firm believer in hot coffee, and I love a good latte, so I've made myself a Nespresso latte with cinnamon and cardamom. And if you haven't tried cardamom in coffee, you're missing out, because it is amazing. It is the perfect balance. And I do have one of my handmade mugs. This one is made by Drew Silver, and I need to look up her website name and add it here if she's still selling. Anyway, so a hot coffee that may not be hot by the time we get done with this. Also the kind where I could end up with a little foam mustache. Let's hope not. But hopefully I'm back far enough. I'm filming on my phone again. This is only the second time for me to film on my phone, but this time I do have an actual phone tripod, so yay. Advancing little bits at a time. It only took 2.5 years, right? Anyway, this is only the second time filming on my phone, and I have no screen to show me what you can see. So hopefully I keep everything in frame. If I ever figure out after filming during editing that something wasn't in frame, I will try and insert a picture. And I'm just going to do the best I can. So what I'm wearing, I showed this as a almost pretty much dang near finished object last time, I believe. I did not go back and watch my last episode to see what I had shown and what I hadn't, but I'm pretty sure this was darn near finished. Maybe it just wasn't blocked or something. But this is the Summer Saunter Tee by Samantha Guerin, and I knit it in Knit Picks Cotlin. So it is I believe it's 50% cotton, 50% linen blend from Knit Picks, and the colorway is Harbor. I don't believe they make this colorway anymore. This was deep stash, like circa 2007, 2008 maybe, Knit Pick stash that I had quite a lot of actually, and I think maybe originally I intended to make a dress, which is why I had so much yardage. And then at some point I had actually started a Petrie top, which is I believe a knitty pattern. And so I have just the front panel or just the back panel of that done. And believe me, there is plenty of this left over to complete that, although that is at a size that I can't currently wear. So I'm trying to decide if I finish that for my daughter, because I think it would be beautiful on her. It's a nice boat neck sleeveless top. Or if I pull it out and start again at my current size, which I'm totally fine with, and I believe I have plenty of yarn, but I will do those calculations. But the Summer Saunter Tee has been released. It was released at either the end of July or beginning of August sometime. I don't remember exactly. I really enjoyed making this tee. It is knit. You put the collar on last, so the lace collar is put on at the end, but it is top down, so you can try it on. The arms and the bottom hem are both just doubled, so you knit and then you do a purl row and then you knit more and you fold it under and seam it down, and just a quick whip stitch secures that pretty well so that you get like a crisp edge and a nice folded look to that. I'm trying to think, it's been so long since I finished this that I'm trying to remember everything I wanted to say about it, and that can be difficult when it's been, you know, like a month and a half since you finished something, because I had this finished reasonably before the deadline, I believe. Knit Picks Cotlin, though, let me just comment on that yarn. It holds up really well. It does pill in like the underarm area briefly, but in my experience, that stops fairly quickly. Like, it pills a little bit and you pick those off and then it's done, and it holds up pretty well. Since it has been so hot here and the Cotlin is a DK weight yarn, I have worn it some, but not as much as I hope to once it starts to cool off a little bit. If we could have highs like just in the 80s, it would be fine. I'm sure I'll probably even wear it when it's in the 70s and maybe the 60s, because it'll be fine indoors. But Cotlin breaks in really well. So it needs some more wearing and washing and stuff to get a little less stiff and have a little bit more drape. And that's just the nature of linen. The more you wear it and use it, the softer linen tends to get. Same thing with hemp fibers. So there's a little bit of a breaking in period, but I don't know if you can tell. It's there's enough drape that I'm fine with it. It's just, I know that there'll be even more as I continue to wear it and use it, and wash it and everything. And the combination of the cotton and linen means that the linen holds its shape better than the cotton does. So it's a very strong yarn, and I don't expect, sometimes with 100% cotton yarns, you get a whole lot of stretching out of shape, and like the cotton can be so heavy that it just pulls the garment down. And I have not found that to be the case with the Cotlin ever. I've had great experiences with it. I've even knit a long skirt, and it doesn't get like saggy through the rear end like some things do. So I do highly recommend both the pattern and the yarn. Knit Picks Cotlin and the Summer Saunter Tee by Samantha Guerin. So I think we should move on to the next finished object, because I don't even remember, like, I used the needle size recommended in the pattern. I think I got gauged with that. So everything was to pattern. I think I knit exactly, I think I did the size 4, and I knit exactly to pattern, the length and everything. And I'll try and insert some full length photos. I do wish I'd taken a tad bit of length out, I think. But I am a short person, so some testers had to add length to the body. I believe that Samantha Guerin is short-waisted like I am, and she had pulled hers out to take a little bit of length out of it because she felt like she had just a little too much. So I probably should have also, but taller testers did have to add some body length in. Mine is just barely too long, so it's fine. I'm not going to pull it out and redo it. It's definitely wearable. But take a look at that pattern, because it is a great pattern and I very much enjoyed making it. But let's move on to other finished objects. And I have no idea what order I finished these in, because I didn't write that down. I do keep a planner where I keep notes. It's an Erin Condren Life Planner, and it's got the 3 vertical boxes. And so I keep track of work stuff, kids stuff, and then I have a box at the bottom where I write in knitting notes and things, and I kind of keep track of when I start and finish things that way, and like what bits I did and kind of how long it took me to do some things, because some designers want to know how long it took you to knit the Testknit. That question isn't as common as how much yardage did you use, but it is a question that designers do ask. And I have more Testknits that I will show you in just a minute. But when I filmed last time, I had like 2 finished objects that I left out. So I'm going to cover one of them today, and I'll throw the other one in some other time. But I had actually finished last time, hopefully this is in frame, my Cozy Cabin stocking, which is a 60 stitch stocking. And I do not remember, I didn't gauge swatch because it's a Christmas stocking. And I don't even remember what needle sizes it was written for. I think it was written for 6 and 8. But as I tend to be a fairly loose knitter, I did the folded cuff on a 5 and I did the body on a 7. And even with color work, I think I'm still a pretty loose knitter. And that could have just been me being paranoid about over tightening the color work to the point that it was loose. But I actually think I ended up with really good definition in the color work, which is pretty good for my first time doing color work in many, many years. I mean, I think it'd been like 15 years or so. I don't know. I don't even know, since the last time I did color work like this. So this is my Cozy Cabin stocking. I love it. I love the way it came out. I talked about 2 podcasts ago, I think, when I showed the progress, the fact that I didn't like the white. It was almost too white to the point of looking plastic. And the yarns I used were Impeccable, which is a yarn from Michaels. Let me see if I can grab a ball band. I'm going to have something else to show you in the same yarn later. But it is 100% acrylic, which I was going for 2 reasons. One of them is that I hadn't done color work in so long, I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. And so I didn't want something with a high financial outlay. So I wanted inexpensive to start with. But I find this white almost too white. And in the acrylic yarn, which is plastic, the white has a much more plasticky, shiny appearance than the colors do. So it just reminds me of like the crochet and needlepoint and stuff that like my great-grandmother and grandmother had done like early in my childhood, in the early 80s and stuff, with those plastic acrylic yarns and things. And so it's fine. I'm going to use it, but I knew I wanted to go for something slightly less plastic looking. So when we get to whips later, I'll show you what I subbed in instead of bright white in my next one. But like I said, I'm still going to use this. I still think it came out great. I love the picture. It taught me a lot about managing my floats, because there are some long floats in there. And I'm not going to show you the inside, but I feel like I did a fairly good job. What I'm trying to decide is, when stuffing the stocking at Christmas, are things going to catch the floats? Because, well, I guess I will show you the inside. You know, because there are some fairly long floats in there. And no, I haven't woven in the ends. Not all of them, but I'll get to it. Anyway, I'm trying to decide if I should line the stockings with something or just be super gentle when stuffing them with goodies at Christmas time. So something to think about, but I can't remember if this was a free or paid for pattern. I will link it below, but it's like the 60 stitch cabin stocking or something. And I loved the way they wrote the short row heel. I got no holes, and I think they called it a no hole short row heel, but I loved the way it came out. So I'm going to do that one again on the next one, even if it calls for a different heel, just because I thought it came out really well. But I will link that below. I'm starting to really think about Christmas and everything happening over the fall and what I want to have done before December even starts. And that way, hopefully I have a more relaxed December. I don't know if that's possible, because I always say I'm not going to commit to a bunch in December, and then I end up having ideas, and like I enjoy gift knitting to an extent. I don't as much enjoy super long projects for gift knits anymore. I used to make queen size Afghans for every family member and close friend who got married, graduated high school or college, and then I did like really large size baby blankets for anyone I knew having a baby. And when I say large size, I mean like, because I wanted them to grow with the kids, they were blankets long enough to cover up an entire like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old child. So you'd use them, like lay them out on the floor for tummy time when they're a baby, but they could grow with them. So that kind of project I don't have as much attention span for currently, as far as gift knitting. But I constantly have ideas of small things I want to make for people, sometimes larger things. And I'm trying to give myself a more relaxed December. I've been saying I was going to make Christmas stockings for like, I don't know, 5 years now, new ones. Because the Christmas stockings that we have, I made before we had kids. And like, I had only made 3 at the time because it was just me and my husband, who I was just dating at the time, and our dog, really my dog. So I had only made 3 stockings. So when we had our second child, I made another one, and it just doesn't match. So I just wanted to make newer, slightly more intricate Christmas stockings for a while. So this is my first foray into that, and I will show more in the whip section. I feel like I can't tell if I'm rambling, talking too fast, if it's just, it is what it is, because it's been like, I think it's been like 40 days since I podcast, maybe more. The summer is really hard because everyone is home and in and out, and we try and fit so much in, and it's just a very hard time to film. And I always say I'm going to try and keep it up, and it doesn't always happen. So forgive me, that's probably the way it's going to go in the summer in general, but we'll see. We'll just ride it out, right? My next finished object is another Testknit, and it actually comes out, by the time I post this, it will probably be out, because I'm not sure that I'll get it edited today, and it comes out tomorrow. So if I don't get this posted till tomorrow or Friday, this pattern will be out. But this is Kay's Back to School Vest by Amy Scher. And I showed this as a whip, I believe, in my last podcast. This is Southern Skeins worsted. I don't think she does worsted anymore, but used to, in her not sock box, there was a variety of bases. I believe she's gone to now, you can get a sock box, or the not sock box is always DK. But used to, there was a variety of bases, and it was really cool to get to try different things. And this was her superwash merino worsted. And if you look closely, and I have no idea what this is doing for the color, putting you so close to the camera, but there is purple flecks in with all this blue, and I will try and get some good photos in there. But there are purple flecks in with the blue, and I laid out a few different choices for my son, and he chose this blue with little bits of purple. Purple is currently one of his favorite colors. It's actually both of my kids' favorite color right now, which makes it really easy to buy stuff I want them to hand down. I just buy it all in purple, which is fine. But he picked out this blue and purple, and absolutely loves it, but it is too hot to wear right now. So he fully intends to wear this to school this fall as it cools down. He's very excited. I did put one of my tags on the back. I try to tag most things I make, especially if somebody else is going to be wearing them. Just because I like having that little tiny bit of personalization on there. But Kay's back to school vest. It is a worsted weight. It is kid sizes. I think it starts at like baby and goes up to maybe a 12, 14. I cannot remember exactly. And since I am filming on my phone, I can't look it up. But it's a large size range, and I was thinking about making one for my daughter also, but I want to check with her to see if she would wear it and what color she would wear. But I could see it going really well with some of the back to school clothes she bought, so we'll see. But this one is for my son. I did make the, even though he just turned 8, I made the size 7-year-old, which is plenty big for him because he's a tiny little peanut and only weighs like 51 pounds. So if your 8-year-old is bigger, definitely go with the 8-year-old size. But mine is the 7-year-old size, and I really enjoyed making it. It knit up very quickly since it's worsted weight. I believe I got gauged with the needles called for in the pattern. If not, I went down 1. It just has such a nice look to it. It's a nice cardigan style vest that buttons down the front, and I love him in cardigans, and I may need to make him a full-on cardigan, but I also love him in sweater vests. So this was like the best of both worlds. Her testing process was lovely. If you ever get the opportunity to test for Amy, it was easy and friendly, and I just really enjoyed doing this. So I was very glad to have that opportunity. I don't really have anything else to say about the vest. It's really nice. I did, when I was blocking it, I really wanted to get it dry. So I did the thing where you put it in a mesh bag and spin it in your front loading washer just on a spin and drain cycle. And I was super worried that it had way overstretched it, even though it was inside a mesh bag. But I put it on the blocking mats and I squished everything back to where it should be. And the yarn just felt, when I took it out of the washer and took it out of the mesh bag, it felt so overstretched and it felt so thin. But when I smushed it back to the dimensions it was supposed to be and let it dry, everything plumped up and got all squishy and lovely. I still don't think I'll do that again with a superwash yarn because it freaked me out a little bit, and I would rather just roll it in a towel and stand on it and see. But I could see doing it with like this cotton linen, which I don't think is going to stretch that much, and maybe other fibers, I don't know, but it definitely freaked me out. So I don't know if I'll do that anytime soon. And I didn't feel like it dried that much faster than when I roll things in towels and stand on them and then just pin them out on the blocking mats in my craft room and leave them with the fan on high, which that room, I leave the fan on high all the time. So it's not even like I have to remember to do that. And things dry pretty quickly up there. So we'll see. But that was Kay's Back to School vest by Amy Scher, and it should be out by the time this is out, unless miracles happen and I get this edited today. All right, what is next for finished objects? So I went to Fiber Christmas in July, which is a wonderful fiber fest put on by Kate Louder of Louder Color Farms, and it's in Kellyville, Oklahoma. It's at the Creek County Fairgrounds every year. Stuff is falling. No. It's, every time I go, it inspires me for different reasons, but especially to get out my spinning wheel because there's so much fiber at Fiber Christmas in July. And there are so many beautiful bats and braids and everything, and I always end up buying fiber, and I almost never get it all spun up before the next Fiber Christmas. So this year I was trying to be very intentional with my buying and very selective and stuff. So I hadn't bought a lot, and then I took my kids, and you'll see what happened because of that later. But, you know, it inspires me to get my wheel out. So I got my wheel out and finished a purple bat that I had started last year after Fiber Christmas. And I think I maybe showed it as a work in progress last time. But it was a one-of-a-kind 4.2 ounce blended fiber bat, including merino, bamboo, and Firestar. And Firestar is like a shimmery yarn, like Stellina or something. It's just in there, and you end up spinning it in. This particular one, the shimmery yarn is like a copper color, and it's going to be very hard to catch on camera because it's spun in there. It is clearly not super even. I mean, it's not bad, but it definitely has areas that are underspun, overspun, has thicker areas, thinner areas. But I think I mostly got between a DK and a worsted out of this. It's all plied up now. Hopefully this is in frame. All plied up now and beautiful, and you can see the shine of the bamboo. You can see the shine of the Firestar in there. I'm just not sure that the camera can pick up that really pretty bronze color that's kind of running through there. But it's nice and soft. It's not as ropey overspun as the fiber I did for my husband's hat. I think that was at Christmas last year. I finished spinning a package of fiber that was, the colorway was called Admiral Blue, and I plied it with some gray merino and made my husband a hat, and that was kind of overplied and ropey feeling. This definitely does not have that feel. And this is just a 2-ply, and so I plied everything on the 2 bobbins, which I had weighed out the fiber and did 2 bobbins of equal weight. But of course, because my spinning isn't completely consistent, 1 bobbin had more left on it. So what I did was I wound that into a center pull cake and then plied the rest of it. So I have this little mini also, but it's really all the same. So that is one of my spinning projects for this time. For those who want the technical stuff, I spun that on an Ashford Traveler. I love the Ashford Traveler because it has the built-in Lazy Kate, and it's pretty slim, and I can take it in the car and take it places, or I've been keeping it down in my bedroom recently and trying to spin 30 minutes a day, not every day, but a lot of days. And it's just a nice compact little wheel, and I love that the Lazy Kate is built right in, so I don't have to think about a second thing. It's all right there. And I travel with at least the 3 extra bobbins on the Lazy Kate and the one that's up on the whirl, or on the flyer. So that was a short forward draft, 2-ply, I think DK to worsted. And then I did a second spinning project because I was just so spinning motivated. And at that point, I was definitely spinning a half hour every day. Slow down. I feel like I'm talking 90 miles an hour again, trying to slow down. Anyway, I had a really gorgeous merino and some kind of shimmer braid that I had bought at Fiber Christmas in July last year that I had not spun. And I've been watching Andrea Mowry's I'll Knit If I Want To. And that really also motivated me to start spinning again more and start thinking about how I want to use my hand spun. So not just spinning to spin, but spinning to use. So I got out that really bright braid and decided to do a fractal spin. So I divided it into 3 equal sections, and then I took one of those sections and divided it into 3 pieces and spun those end to end, and the next section I divided into 2 pieces and spun those end to end, and then one section I just spun end to end, and then I did a 3-ply yarn from that. And this is my skein that I got, and I'm hoping all of these vivid colors are showing up well for you, because there are pinks, oranges, greens, blues, yellows. It's just, and we got a very like spin cycle-esque yarn here, and I'm loving it. And I feel like it needs to be some kind of color work. Not sure for what yet. I think it'd be gorgeous as the hearts in Andrea Mowry's Bean and Olive, I think is the name of it. But I don't know if it's too thick for that. I need to swatch it and see. I think that it's once again like DK-ish, and I think that that pattern of hers is sport, but maybe I could get away with it just for the color work yoke. I don't know. But I do have, so the 3 bobbins should have been fairly close to equal, but because my spinning isn't like amazingly consistent yet, 2 of the bobbins had some left on them, one more than other. So I am going to, once again, like the one that has the most on it, I will wind off to a center pole ball, and then 3-ply the one that doesn't have as much with the 2 ends of, and it won't come out exactly the same because it won't be the exact fractal spin that I had planned out for this. But I don't think that you'll notice much difference because the color repeats were not super long to begin with. So I think it'll be fine. The one thing I did want to say is I love that a 3-ply really comes out looking so much more consistent than a 2-ply, even if my spinning is the same. Although I feel like I did a better job with consistency with this one. And maybe that's because I spun the whole thing in like a week or week and a half, as opposed to drawing it out over the course of 6 months, maybe. Almost a year. I'm trying to remember when I started that purple bat. So doing it all within the same time span, I think helped me stay consistent. I don't know, also sitting down and doing long sessions where I was drafting the same way the whole time, and I was pre-drafting it all, and this was such an easy fiber to spin. It drafted really easily and very consistently. So all those things contributed to, this is definitely a more consistent skein than the purple, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. And originally I got that purple to do something like a hat or something for my daughter, and I can't decide if I'm going to do that or if she has too many hats or if I want to make some other kind of accessory or something. I don't know. Haven't figured that out. But anyway, I still have to ply the leftovers from that, or I could save them as singles and do like a scrappy yarn later with all of my singles, but I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in life yet. Okay, last finished object that I have in my possession, I believe. And then I'll briefly talk about a couple of finished objects that I no longer have in my possession. But I did yet another Testknit. This one, the pattern has not been released yet, but the Testknit is not a secret. I did the Even Easier Eyelet Yoke Pullover, which was a Testknit for Knit-A-Tude. And I did this, obviously this is not my size. This is very small. This is the extra small. which is written for a 28-inch bust, and I made this for my 11-and-a-half-year-old, who does have a 28-inch bust, so she's exactly within the size range for the extra small, and it fits her perfectly. This is written for extra bulky weight yarn, and I did use the Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick in the colorway Celebration. So there's like the shiny strand running through it that's like pink, aqua, gold. Anyway, so it's white with a shiny strand running through it, and it is only like 20% wool, 80% acrylic, something very easy to wash, so that she can just, this can be a wear to school sweater, a no big deal sweater, a throw on anytime she wants kind of sweater, but it fits her current aesthetic, which is things a little bit more fitted, not super full length. So it's not cropped per se, because it does not show her belly button. It definitely comes past the top of her pants, which it has to for school, because that's the way it is. But it's not like full length like you would think. You could make this any length you wanted. The pattern is written for size 15 needles, and I had to go down to 13s to get gauge. I might make one for myself using size 15 needles and just going down a pattern size, because it would be like loose and open and sweatshirty. But this gauge actually ended up nicely structured and very pretty on my daughter. There have been some pattern changes since the Testknit started. My collar has more rows of ribbing than the final pattern will have. The final pattern has fewer rows, but I have 5 rows of neck ribbing, which I actually like because it draws the neck up high enough that whatever t-shirt you're wearing underneath it isn't necessarily sticking out. I think in the fall here, because it doesn't get super cold for a while, she'll probably just wear a tank top under it. But after that, I could see a t-shirt. In fact, we did our finished object photos with a black t-shirt under it, so the eyelets really stood out. And that was a nice look too. But anyway, it was only a few days of non-monogamous knitting to get this finished. I mean, it did not take long at all. If you've made any of Chantel's patterns, they are very beginner friendly for the most part. And this just, I mean, it was like instant. It was like, just add water, finished object. So quick. So definitely recommend, and that'll be coming out really soon, I believe. Feedback has already been submitted, and I believe that the pattern will come out in the next couple of weeks. Don't hold me to that, because I'm not 100% sure. But it was my first test knit for Knit-itude. I very much enjoyed the process and hope to get to do that again. She tends to work with bigger yarn and needles, and that makes for nice, quick, finished objects. I have a bunch of her patterns like that I have bought and I'm ready to knit. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I do think that for my sister for Christmas, I'm going to do her braided bum hugger, which is a big, open, loose, what do you even call that kind of sweater? I mean, the sleeves are barely sleeves. They're really just like, they come together and it's big and open. Almost like a bolero, but I think of a bolero as being more fitted. I don't know. Anyway, it's super cute. I have this deep stash yarn that is actually really nice yarn, and I hate that it's not getting used, but my color aesthetic has changed since I bought it. And it's like an olive gray. So in some lights it looks just like a warm gray, and in other lights it definitely leans olive. and I believe it's Aran weight. And so I'm going to hold it double and see if that gets me to a super bulky, and then do the braided bum hugger for my sister in that, because I have like 20 something balls, and it's Debbie Bliss alpaca silk in the Aran weight. Yeah, it's a gorgeous yarn, but like, I'm not gonna wear it. If I knit something for myself, I'm not gonna wear it. And it's such a loosely spun yarn that I can't see knitting anything for the kids in it, and I can't see knitting anything for my husband in it, because I just don't think that aesthetically it will be right. But I could see it on my sister, so I will either try and get that done for her birthday, which is in October. But like I said, it's knit up at a super bulky gauge, so it could be really quick. Or I'll do it soonish and set it aside for Christmas, because always trying to get ahead for Christmas. But anyway, if you're looking for a super bulky sweater, or a sweater that just knits up instantaneously, the even easier Eyelet Yoke sweater will be out soon. And it's a simple, fun knit, nothing hard or complicated. So highly recommend. Let's see. Oh, finished objects that I no longer have possession of. So we're getting back to birthday party season as school has started, and we have a number of friends with summer birthdays also, but the kids have decided that because so many of their friends don't really need anything, and I mean, kids want stuff, but like, they have wish lists shorter than the number of kids coming to their parties usually. So just to be different, my kids decided that it'd be fun if I made something for each of their friends' birthdays, which we'll see if I can keep up with this, or if we have to space it out a little bit, because it can be a lot. So for a core group of close friends of my daughter's, we're doing different hoods, mostly by, okay, now I got to remember her name. Is it the Velvet Acorn or the Autumn Acorn? She has all these animal cowl hoods, and I will put the correct thing in. But for one of my daughter's friends, we made it's supposed to be a dinosaur hood, and it's got spikes, but we did it like a dragon hood and in rainbow colors. So I used a Caron yarn that was color changing and a rainbow on its own, and it ended up like color block rainbow. And then I got a purple worsted weight yarn and held it double to do the spikes. And so it's a big cowl with buttons and a hood and the dino spikes. And I don't know if I got a good picture, but if I did, I'll put it in. And it knit up fairly quickly. The spikes probably took the longest, but even then they weren't bad. I did them all while watching a movie with my daughter and another one of her friends, so that was not bad. I did a hat for a family friend that is my son's age, and then I did another hat for a friend of my daughter's from her school. So I will try and insert pictures of those here. All of these school hats, with the exception of the more complicated hoods, the main rule is that we're doing them with stash yarn, like trying to use especially older stash up. So just going up to the craft room and going through things and finding yarns that we think suit their friends. I actually did another one that I know I forgot to take a picture of in an older green, blue, purple yarn that I have. It's like color changing on its own. And when the mom told me that those were the kids' favorite colors, green, blue, and purple, I knew exactly which scrap yarn we were going upstairs to get. So that's been kind of a fun project, because we kind of talk about what their friends wear and how my kids perceive them. Like, Are they a slouchy beanie person? Are they a fitted beanie person? In the case of my daughter's friends, like what would be their favorite animal or what would they wear the most? So while we're talking about that, let me go ahead and show you the works in progress that fall into that category. So the first one, not in order of how I started them, but for a birthday party this weekend, so I need to crack on with it. I am doing a hat that uses scrap navy blue that I believe is from the wedding Afghan I gave my husband's brother and his wife, which was a chunky cabled Afghan. So leftover navy blue acrylic from that. And then I believe this is a Caron yarn that my son picked out at the store one day and insisted he needed a hat in. And I made him the barley hat, I think it's called, by Tin Can Knits. It's got a section of like garter ridges and then the rest of it's in stockinette. And this yarn has held up really well for that. He wears that hat a lot. It looks so good on him. It's a beautiful slouchy hat. And we have earmarked that pattern for another kid, but that birthday isn't till December, so we have time. But this one is a twisted rib brim in just the navy. And then I started alternating this yarn for 3 rows with the navy for 2, thinking the color change in this as we go up will be really fun, balanced with the solid navy. And so it's a partially improvised hat. The stitch counts and the brim started with a free Ravelry download just to get going. And then I'll probably use their decrease stitch counts because the top of the hat is pretty nice, but I'm not doing the slip stitch detail that's in the pattern. So I will link the pattern below because it's nice to have stitch counts as a jumping off point. But this birthday party is Saturday, so this will be like my focus today probably to try and get that done because I don't want to be doing it up to the last minute. I am tagging all of the hats I make for their friends, and I'm thinking it'll be fun for the kids to hopefully see their friends wear those hats to school and stuff. So hopefully you guys don't think we're crazy, but I think this is a fun project. The second work in progress that falls into that category is this hood, which right now just looks like a hood or hooded cowl. I'm gonna mess my hair up real quick. So this might be a little small for me because it's supposed to be the teen size, and it will have, I think it's like 6 buttons. I think there's 6 buttonholes that will go, yeah, on this side, and this will button to the top of it, and that's what helps keep it like scrunched up around the neck and face so that it is warm. It's very hard to hold it this way. Anyway, and there's the hood. We went with earthy colors for this one because this is a fawn hood, and oh goodness, somewhere in my project bag, excuse the clattering needles, are the 2 antlers that I have knit already that will go on the front of the hood. I guess they go a little bit farther back. And then there will also be 2 ears. Let's see if I can show the picture without showing the pattern. The designer's name is Heidi May, and she designs under the name The Velvet Acorn. So this is the picture. So you can see there's antlers and then there's ears, and this is how, and we're not doing the mitts. So it's hard to see the front of the cowl because she's covering it up with her mittens. Anyway, this is what we're going for. And I am working on the ears now, but we have another week on this one, so I have to set it aside and keep working on the hat right now. But I have started the ears, so that'll be a fun one, and that should be a finished object fairly soon. I would definitely think by next time I film, and hopefully I get good pictures of it if we give it away before then. I'm thinking once her whole core group of friends has their hoods, asking if I can take some pictures, even if I have to cover their faces with stickers or whatever, some pictures of all of them together in their hoods, I think would be fun. Okay, let's see. Almost finished objects. This should have been a finished object, except that I wasn't paying attention and I did something really dumb. This is my neon Tolsta tee, and I'm trying not to drop any stitches, but I had put the first sleeve on at about a 3/4 length, and done kind of a little balloon style. And I had the row count and the cuff row count, and I had weighed my yarn halfway through the sleeve and thought I was good, but maybe I went farther than I thought or something. Anyway, I didn't even get to my stockinette row count pre-decreases, and I ran out of yarn. So I am going to pull back this sleeve. This was, I wrote it down, now I'll have to find my notes. Let's see. This was 47 rounds from where you picked up for sleeves, or put them back on the needle and then picked up underneath. So it was 47 rounds and then a decreased round, and then 6 rounds of ribbing, 2 setup rounds, and a tubular bind off. So I'm gonna have to unpick the tubular bind off. And this, I did this like a week or so ago, and I got mad, so I set it aside. And did I mention it's been over 100 degrees here every day? I cannot wear this, short sleeved or not. It's not happening. Air conditioners in the car and stuff, like, they can't keep up with this nonsense. But anyway, I have to unpick the tubular bind off, take out, I think I'm going to pull it back to 35 rows, which is, I think, where I got to before I ran out of yarn on this side. I need to recount to make sure. I think I'm going to pull it back to 35 and then do the cuff, which will pull out 12 rows because it had 37 or 47. And if I'm pulling it back to 35, that'll pull out 12 rounds of the stockinette. And then I will do the same decrease round I had done before and go straight into the cuff. And hopefully that means that I have enough yarn then to take over to this side and go immediately into the decrease round and then do the cuff. Because if I'm taking out 12 rounds of stockinette at more stitches around, then I should easily have enough for 1 decrease round and 6 ribbed rounds, 2 setup rounds. So that's 1, and then 6 would be 7, 2 decrease rounds is 9, and then the sewn bind off, and have, you know, like, enough that I'm not playing scary yarn chicken anymore. Hopefully. So hopefully taking out 12 rows of the more stitches leaves me enough to do that with the decreased number of stitches. It should. It really should. I hope. Because if it doesn't, then I'm just, I don't know, be sad. Because this is beautiful and I love it. It has, the body has been steam blocked. It has not been wet blocked, but I wanted to see how it hung. And I think I even steam blocked part of the sleeve and tried it on. So I'm kind of sad that I can't get the length out of the sleeves that I had on this side, but I think it'll be okay. It's just going to be more of like an elbow length sleeve. It's still going to have the puff. I'm still doing the rapid decrease right before the rib. But so I should have paid more attention. I should have weighed my yarn more often to make sure that I was staying on top of my usage. I used 3 skeins of Always Be Kind yarn DK weight in the neon confetti colorway, and I love it. And 3 skeins is the right amount of yardage, or more than enough, for a Tolsta tee in my size. But the Tolsta tee is written for very short sleeves. And I knew that, and I knew that I was going to use all of the yarn. I just thought I had done a better job of predicting where I was with it. I did take a little bit of length out of the body. That's one reason this has been steam blocked, is to see where it hung, because my last Tolsta tee, it's like the weight of the yarn ends up making it elongate. And so it ended up longer than I really wanted it to be, longer than the pattern once it had been blocked, and I wear it and it pulls down throughout the day. And I've heard that that can happen more often when you knit a yarn at a larger than intended for gauge. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, because I love knitting things at a loose gauge. It's just that supposedly you need to be prepared for more stretch if you're knitting the yarn at a larger gauge than the label recommends. Because some of that recommended needle size has more to do with the structure of the fabric than it does with just like what needles fit this yarn. I don't know if that made any sense, but if I can remember where I heard all that, I'll link it, and if not, it won't be there. So neon confetti Tolsta tee should have been done, isn't. As soon as I finish that beanie, I think I want to make myself finish this Tolsta tee. I actually foresee it being an excellent transition piece next spring, when I'm really wanting it to be warm and bright and happy, and in reality it's cold and rainy, because that's what happens in the spring here. Right now, when everyone else is talking about getting ready for fall and fall vibes and let's get cozy and stuff, and I'm going, it is too friggin' hot here to even think about fall right now. Like, don't you pumpkin spice latte me, because it is 115 heat index every day, and it is so humid that you go outside and the sweat just starts to roll, and wearing makeup becomes like a fight against nature. It's not good. August here is hot. September here, still hot. I'm gonna be lucky if I get sweater weather by October, because honestly, October here can still be really warm. I'm really bad at remembering to talk about my project bags. Excuse me while I get comfy again. My Tolsta tee is in a Kelly E. McD project bag. And Kelly is the mom of Maddie from the We Share Needles podcast. And if you like fun, funny, silly, slightly irreverent podcasts, then check out We Share Needles. But this bag is quite excellent. It's pretty big size. I think it's her medium bag. The lining is beautiful. I love that it has the little handle I can slip my wrist through, because I do knit on the go a lot. But like I said, I'm really bad at remembering to talk about my project bags. So the Tolsta tee is in a Kelly E. McD bag. She sells all of her bags through Instagram and Facebook, I believe. So look her up on Insta if you're interested to see what she has right now. Let's see, other things that are in progress. I did tell you I have another stocking going. So this is a free pattern from Yarnspirations. And I'm trying to remember what yarn brand, maybe Bernat, those patterns are for. I don't remember. Anyway, because it was a 60 stitch stocking and I wanted it to match the other one that I did, the 60 stitch cozy cabin stocking, I went ahead and did the same needle sizes and a folded cuff. This pattern actually calls for a fur cuff, and that is not what I wanted for our Christmas stockings. For a decorative stocking maybe, but for the ones we actually use for stuffing them and stuff, I wanted them to have some consistency. So I went ahead and used size 5 needles again and did another folded cuff to the same size and same stitch count as the other stocking, and then I went into the color work chart. This chart is written for 3 colors, and I decided to make it 5 colors. So I did have to make some color decisions along the way. So far, I'm fairly happy with my color decisions. I used the same green and red as the other stocking, but then I used, instead of white, I used a cream or an off-white, which doesn't have quite as plasticky a vibe as the white did. The true white was just too unrealistic, and this antique white or cream or off-white or whatever you want to call it just has a less plastic vibe to it. And then I know it can be hard to tell the difference between the cream and the gray because there's not a lot of contrast there, but I used a royal blue or a primary blue and then a super light gray, and did this part of the color work and the stars and this part in the gray before switching back to the cream as my lighter color. I have a section where the blue gets to stand out a bit, and then I'm almost finished with the leg in the color work. There are 2 more rounds in the chart for the leg, and then you put in waste yarn for what some people call a forethought heel, because unlike a true afterthought heel, there's no cutting into the yarn. Like, you've decided ahead of time where the heel's going to go, and you put in that waste yarn to make it easier to pick up to do your afterthought heel. Some people call it a forethought heel because there is a little bit of forethought that goes into it. And then after the waste yarn, I will do the color work for the foot, do the toe, and at the end go back and put in the heel. So right now what I need to do is look at the color work chart for the foot, decide what colors I'm going to use where, since I'm converting that 3 color chart to 5 colors, and then decide what color heel I'm going to put in. So we'll see there. I can't decide if I want to put in the same color heel as whatever the stripe the heel is splitting is, or if I want to put in a contrast heel to that particular stripe. So I'm just going to look a little bit more at that and figure out what I want to do there. But this gives me like antique Christmas ornament vibes, like the ornaments I inherited from my great-grandmother's tree, where they're glass ornaments, but they're painted, and they tend to have little bits of blue and red and green and white. Some of them even have like a bit of a hot pink color in them. But just all the little motifs and stuff are just giving me like antique Christmas ornament vibes. And that is making me really happy. I'm very much enjoying this. I'm not rushing on it. I just work on it a little bit at a time. It can be very addictive, and I like want to keep working on it even when I need to move on to other things, which is probably why it's gone fairly quickly. I think I just cast it on sometime last week, maybe. I don't know if you can hear my dog making silly noises, but he is. But anyway, So this is my second colorwork Christmas stocking. My son has decided that he really wants to use his original Christmas stocking, which of course was the one that didn't match everyone else's. So maybe it's fine that he still doesn't match. The colors of his Christmas stocking will still be off from everyone else's because all the others are like primary, like red and green and white and stuff. And his was more of a cream and a warmer green than a primary. So it still won't match, but if it's the one he really wants to use, it's fine. The rest of us can have new fancy colorwork Christmas stockings. So we'll see, but I may only get these 2 done this year, and it may be next year before I get another one done, just based on all the things I'm wanting to work on. But I'm having so much fun practicing the colorwork. This one, my floats are not quite as nice and even as maybe they were in the first stocking. I had more trouble with yarn management in this section where there's actually 3 colors for a while because I've never done 3 colors before. So I feel like in some places I got a little tight in here, just things getting tangled and stuff, but I don't know. I'm happy with it. It's bringing me joy. It's making me happy, and that's all that matters right now. So, yes, and I'll put the name of the pattern, but it's a free pattern. And I just went to the website and printed it off because it's not a Ravelry download. You do have to go to their website, but I don't know. I'm enjoying that one, and I'm not sure what stocking I will do next. If you have a suggestion for a colorwork Christmas stocking that is close to a 60 stitch count, because it would be nice if they all came out to close to the same size, then absolutely let me know. But loving that right now. And I have stuffed all of that yarn into, it was Farmhouse Sewing Cafe, but now it is Rows and Seams. And she does a lot of really cute bags, but this was one of her larger ones that she made in a winter theme, and so it seemed appropriate for keeping Christmas stocking stuff in. I do have another spin in progress, and actually I've gotten 2 bobbins done. This super sparkly, I don't know if you can see just how sparkly that is. This super sparkly nonsense was a bat that I brought home from Fiber Christmas in July this year. This is what happens when you take my son into a fiber festival. He will insist on picking something out, which is fine. My daughter did too. But he picked out this sparkly purple bat that he really likes. And he's very into purple right now. In fact, he really likes a lighter purple, and my daughter likes a darker purple. And so we talked about how to get enough yardage out of that. He wants another vest. And this was only like a 4-ounce bat. Maybe, yeah, a 4-ounce bat from Butterfly Girl Designs, and it was called Passion Flower, and it's 45% merino, 45% bamboo, 10% nylon Firestar, and Angelina. So that's all the shiny stuff. So that's the card that came in the bat. You can find her as Butterfly Girl Designs on Instagram. But anyway, so that was the bat he picked out. I've spun 2 bobbins of the purple, and we also bought, excuse the crinkling, I'm so sorry. And this is a mess because I took it apart to start working with it. We also got 2 ounces of Rambouillet and silk. The name of the sheep was Pretty Boy, and this was one from Louder Color Farms, Kate Louder. So anyway, we got this Rambouillet and silk, but I have not yet, and I started it, I have not yet been able to match my spinning gauge with this. And I don't know if it's just the difference in the fiber content. I have I'm on the same whorl. I'm drafting approximately the same way. But when I draft it, it does have almost like bumpy bits. And I don't know if that's the silk, if that's just the Rambouillet, like, I don't know. I have not been able to get a super fine, consistent width yet. And I just started working with it, so it could take time. But it's like every time I start to spin it, I get little bumps in it, which would be fine, except that I'm wanting to do a 3-ply and have it balance with those purple, with how fine I spun the purple. I need this to also be fine. So one of my suggestions to my son, instead of plying it with this cream and silk, which we have 2 ounces of, is the same gray that I used for my husband's hat. And I have more of this that I can spin because it is spun a little bit thicker and a little bit ropey. So I kind of wonder about putting it back through the wheel and taking some of that twist out a little bit. But anyway, I have a bunch more of this light gray. And so if I did 2 plies of the purple and a ply of the light gray together, that could be pretty. The other option is to see if I have enough gray to do 2 bobbins worth, and then ask my son how he feels about ordering or acquiring another similar-ish purple. And because he wants another vest, I need a reasonable amount of yardage out of this. And if he wants the same vest as I just made him, then it needs to be close to a worsted weight. So if I need to make close to a worsted weight, then I definitely want 3 plies because I've been spinning kind of fine. And I know that that will help even out my tension, my thickness and thinness. Like the 3 plies just makes for a nice balanced yarn. And I don't think it'll be hard to find another purple roving, especially like a slightly lighter purple. I feel like 2 plies of this is like going to be super shiny. So if we can pull it back to 1 ply of this, 1 ply of gray, and 1 ply of another light purple, we can tone down the shiny a little bit and distribute it throughout a larger area. And then maybe have enough to do another vest. And it doesn't have to be the same vest style. If he's willing to go for a pullover vest, then I won't need quite as much yardage because you won't have that overlapping button band. It just depends in the end exactly what he wants. But though that is my spinning work in progress, trying to figure out how to spin that Rambouillet and silk a bit more evenly, and then also how to end up using the purple to get the end product that my son really wants. So just things that I'm thinking about these days. What else do I have happening? I'm still working on my husband's bear paw socks. They have not advanced much. I'm working through the gusset. Not much has changed there. Still using a Forest Lane Fiber Company in the colorway Portobello. It is a no nylon sock yarn. It's got tencel in it. And then the variegated is just a Regia 4-ply. So those are still in progress. That's an Andrea Mowry pattern. I've talked about it enough before that I don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Upcoming spinning, because I think that the yarn has all been taken up to my craft room that I acquired at Fiber Christmas, looking all around for things. Maybe I'll go get it. Maybe I won't. I don't really want to spend a ton of time on acquisitions because that's not my favorite part to watch, and I've also been trying to curb my acquisitions anyway. But I did want to say real quick, my lovely friend Dawn of Dawning Dreams is going to retire her dye business, or at least not be doing shows anymore. So I bought 2 braids of this. These are 4 ounces of Blue Face Leicester, and it goes from a dark blue through purple, and then a reddy, orangey, yellow to cream. 2 braids, and once again, I want to fractal spin them, and I haven't decided what to do with them after that. I don't know, but if I can fractal spin them so I get a nice balanced 3-ply, and then I'll see what the yardage is and what the weight ended up being. And I kind of wonder about using them as part of like a big comfy shawl. I was inspired to think about spinning for, sorry for the crinkling, the night shift when I was watching the Brooke Willow podcast, because she spun a bunch of individual colorways. Like, I think each one was a braid or a bag of fiber, for a night shift shawl, and I think that would be so cool to do. So that could be a fun project, because then I wouldn't have to worry quite as much about my gauge or yardage, because I'm just not that concerned with if a shawl has consistent gauge or not, because it's a shawl. Oh, the tag fell off of one of those. So I showed you, because I've already spun it, what my son picked out, but my daughter also needed something from the Fiber Festival. So we got another Butterfly Girl Designs bat. This one is 60% merino, 30% bamboo, 10% nylon Firestar, and Angelina. And once I take it out of the bag, it will never go back in as neatly, I'm sure. But it is an aqua base that has like the pearlescent shimmer in it, and also tiny bits of what's either a blue or a purple. I think a pale blue with maybe that leans a little purpley running through it. I was trying to find the center to open this all the way up for you. So all kinds of shininess happening here. Hopefully you can see all that. This will be, oh, dropped some. This little bit. This will be a beautiful aqua spin. I don't think you're going to see quite as much variation as you did in the purple, because the color is lighter and closer to the same as far as the shiny and the dyed merino. But I think it'll be beautiful. She hasn't really said what she wants to do with the yarn, so we may talk about it a little bit before I spin it. I could ply it with a cream. I could just ply it with itself into a hat. If she wanted it as color work in something, that would work too. So I don't know. It's just something she picked out, and if she's not particular on what she wants with it, then maybe I'll see how it spins up, and then we can decide how to ply it and what we want to do with it. Oh, I have another almost finished object that I totally forgot about, because it's another birthday hat, except I didn't get it done in time for the birthday, so I might keep it as Christmas hat. And the reason it is almost finished is because I have not woven the ends in yet, but I made this for my father-in-law. He's an LSU fan, so these are LSU colors. This was scrap yarn that I had. So it's a strand of the Violet Valentine in the colorway Iris, and a strand, and that's, I still have leftovers. I thought I was going to use it all up in this because it takes a lot of yardage because it's got a deep folded brim and then a very squishy texture, but no, didn't use it up. And then a Hedgehog Fibres, strand of Hedgehog Fibres in just a dark purple. So hopefully I don't make my hair too much of a disaster. This beanie actually looks a lot better on and stretched out than it does when it's just all scrunched up. I made my husband try it on because it looked so small, but it's got so much stretch to it that he said it felt really good. It had just the right amount of hug around the head. So I'm very happy with this. And I was trying to decide if I was going to block it, but I don't think I'm going to. I like the way it's stretching and squishing right now. So maybe I'll just steam it. But I may just hang on to that for Christmas. I need to weave in the ends and tag it. But like I said, it'd be nice to have a head start on all the Christmas gift knitting, so that I can have a more relaxed, less pressure-filled December. And my in-laws are always hard to shop for because they don't really need anything. So I made a hat for my stepmother-in-law last year. So I think it'd be nice to give my father-in-law a hat this year. Let's see. Have I done anything else of note? I really don't think I have. Clearly I made very good notes. I have been working on my temperature blanket every day. I have passed the decrease and so basically turn the corner because, you know, it's done corner to corner, but I've made it past the halfway and I'm on the decreases now. I don't know if I said that correctly. Anyway, it's so big that it's very hard to show. So if I can find a clean place that's not covered in Great Pyrenees dog fur to lay it out and take a photo, then I will. Otherwise, I'll just insert the last picture I have, which is right at the halfway point before I started the decreases. I'll probably show it on the next podcast episode when the decrease slant is even more defined. Since I'm like 10 or 12 days into the decreases. So maybe by the next podcast I can have July finished, and that will also add in a new color because I haven't even made it to the 100-degree days yet in the blanket, but they're coming up. I think I have 3 more days to work on before I do my very first stripe of the color I have for 100 plus. So that's coming up soon. So I'm still loving the temperature blanket. It's very exciting. I think I am on my 3rd skein of the ballet pink color that is my 80 to 90 color. And then I'm on the 2nd skein of my 90 to 100 color. And I foresee potentially having to go get a 3rd skein of that also. Like, this is going to be one heavy blanket. I'm going to weigh it at the end of the year and see how much it weighs. Maybe I'll weigh it soon just to see where we are now. But I'm very much looking forward to working on it when it's colder. I think it'll be a really nice project in the cold months. I do have one other thing on the needles, but it's a secret test knit, and I am really hoping to be able to show you soon because I am madly in love with this project. And I can't wait for the designer to release it so that I can talk about it and share pictures and everything, because I think that you will love it too. And it's very stash busting and very satisfying to knit, like very satisfying. I find myself like really wanting to work on it. And when you see it, you might be surprised because yeah, it's so much fun. I think that's all the knitting chat. So if that is all you are here for, thank you so much for joining me. And I know this is probably a really long one because there was so much to cover and it had been so long since I podcasted. But I appreciate you for sticking with me. And please let me know if I was talking too quickly, moving too much. Like, I am open to all of your constructive and kind feedback and criticism. But anyway, thank you for being here. Let me know what you're working on or what is bringing you joy right now. And then if you are sticking around for a little bit of life chat, we will move right into that. Y'all, I got up for just a second and I am covered in little shiny bits from pulling those bats out. Yeah, lots of little shiny fibers all over me. So I'm gonna have to lint roll this shirt later, but anyway, life chat. So as I mentioned earlier, the kids are back in school. Yay! So I'm back to having a little bit of time to myself. Although, okay, I have mixed feelings about being back in school because I feel like the summer went by so quickly and I didn't necessarily get everything done with the kids that I really wanted. But on the other hand, like, they're excited to be back in school. They're excited to be back with their friends on a regular basis. Middle school's been a transition, but so far my oldest is loving it, and I think that that is great. I'm not looking forward to how busy evenings get when all of the extracurriculars start again, but I know the kids enjoy those things, and so it will be fine. That's balanced a little bit by having some of my days back to myself again, but it definitely makes for some rushed dinner times and some busy late evenings. I don't know. It is what it is. And we'll see how this year goes. It could be totally different than past years, but I hope to be back to recording regularly. Hopefully. This year I'm serving on 2 different boards, one at school and one for the Guild of Tulsa Opera. And my role this year is Vice President of Artist Hospitality. So we'll see. Some of these things could take up time. At the school, I am on our equivalent of the PTO as one of the grade reps, and so that can keep me busy. Like, there's all kinds of things. I have a tendency to overcommit. I'm also on a committee through the labor union that I'm a part of, and that's IATSE, which is the theater technicians labor union, basically. So I'm on a committee there, and there's just a lot going on. So having to keep everything in my planner just to stay organized. Let me grab them. I use an Erin Condren life planner, and I love this thing, and I would miss everything if I didn't have this thing telling me what it is I need to do on any given day. So I decorate because that helps motivate me to make sure that I am using and interacting with my planner on a daily basis. But one of the things, and I think I talked about it earlier in the year, that I am doing on the monthly spreads in my planner is tracking my reading. So I had gotten to where I was doing, in May, I had a lot of books, mostly audiobooks, but I do count books read, that I had listened to, and a lot of them were just shorter books. So a lot of them were like shorter mysteries and stuff. And even in June, I did a fair amount of reading and listening. July was just a bit less because I chose much longer books. And I just want to talk about a few of the books. So I listened to The Starless Crown by James Rollins, and I'm currently on the second book in that series. It is, I believe his description of that series is the first time where he married his suspense thriller books to his fantasy fiction books. So this is suspense fantasy. Is very good. I very much enjoyed the first book, and I am halfway through the second book. And then I read Ninth House, and I cannot recommend that enough. Like, I don't know, maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I really like that book. Just sucked me in, and so I had to immediately put a hold on the second book in that series, which is Hellbent, and I believe there's only those two out so far, but it's definitely set up for there being a third, and I can't remember when it's supposed to come out. I think maybe it's sometime in the fall. But Ninth House by, I believe it's Lee Bardugo, I think. Anyway, highly recommend. Definitely enjoyed. I don't know what else to say about that one because I don't want to give anything about it away, but it was really good. In between Ninth House and Hellbent, I listened to On What Grounds, which is like another small murder mystery, but it's based around a coffee shop owner or manager. It's based around a coffee shop, and it just sounded interesting, but I don't know, it didn't capture me a whole lot. Maybe it's very dated because it is older, but I don't know. Something about it, I didn't find it super compelling. Main character is a bit of a snob about her coffee. So take that for what it's worth. In August, I read Carrie Soto is Back, which is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. She's the same author as The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Malibu Rising and the one that's about the band that they just made a series out of. And I read that one sometime this summer. Daisy Jones and the Six. I read it in May. So same author, Carrie Soto is Back. I really enjoyed that. And then I read Fourth Wing. And I know there's a lot of people talking about Fourth Wing right now on the internet. And there is a second book in that series coming out this fall, I believe. That book was so good. Even though it's a long book, I think I read it in 5 or 6 days. Because it just sucked me in, and like I couldn't not be listening to it. It was so good. So highly recommend Fourth Wing. So Ninth House and Fourth Wing are my top 2 recommendations from this time's list. Right now I'm in Cradle of Ice, which is the second book in the James Rollins series. And I have maxed out my holds on the Libby app because I have holds on so many things right now. But I think my next book is going to be Remarkably Bright Creatures because I've heard wonderful things about it. And I find octopus fascinating. Like, they're just, I don't know. I love watching the little, not TikTok, but like, because I don't have TikTok, but Facebook and Instagram, sometimes you scroll past like silly videos. I love watching the ones about tiny octopuses doing really silly things, like throwing things at their owners and stuff, because they will. But I want to listen to Remarkably Bright Creatures because I've heard nothing but good things about that book. So let me know what you're reading, because I love to keep a list of things to read, because there are months like May where I go through books like water, and then there are some months where I just don't have as much time to myself, because like I will listen to an audiobook in the car when I'm driving when the kids are not in the car. Well, that happens more during the school year than it does in the summertime. So hopefully back to lots of listening time, because I can listen while I clean the house, especially when the house is empty and I don't necessarily have to go find headphones. But I have enjoyed listening to books while spinning because it doesn't require me to look at anything except the fiber I'm working on. So yeah, lots and lots of reading time. My current paper book is Heartstopper, the first one, which my daughter loves, and we started watching the Netflix, I think it's on Netflix, the Netflix series, which is so well done. I think we've only watched 3 episodes so far, but I love it. It's really cute. So, yeah, I don't think I'm watching anything else right now. I guess husband's doing a rewatch of Schitt's Creek, so I've been watching along with him, and some old Jack Ryan series that we've watched a few episodes of. And then, of course, the new season of Reservation Dogs is out, so we're fully caught up with that. We have to wait for the next episode to come out. And that's been kind of fun because it's filmed here. And it's hilarious because if you've ever been to Tulsa or know Tulsa well at all, like, watch the backgrounds for the scenes when they're supposed to be in LA, because it's really funny. If you know much about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you watch those scenes where they're supposed to be in LA, it's humorous. But anyway, enough about that. I don't think there's anything else major to talk about right now. I want to get a few things done while the kids are in school today, and then may take them swimming in the afternoon because, once again, it's hotter than heck here, and that just sounds like a nice break. So anyway, until next time, just let me know what you're working on, what you're enjoying, what you're reading. I have missed interacting with all of you in the comments. You can always find me over on Instagram as SomerKnits, or Ravelry as Knit-O-Matic. And yes, if you're familiar with the yarn store, I have been Knit-O-Matic on Ravelry since 2008, I think. It was either 2007 or 2008. So long before the yarn store, Knit-O-Matic came into existence. I had a blog under that name, and that's my Ravelry handle and always has been, and I don't plan to change it. So you're welcome to find me on Instagram, on Ravelry. Happy to chat. I also have a Discord server that you are more than welcome to join. We would love to have you there. And then I'm on Threads, but I don't post all the time. I really was just pro taking down Twitter, because why not? So I have a Threads account. You're welcome to find me over there as well. That's also as SomerKnits. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it through this whole thing, you are amazing. And I will see you next time.